What's up, YouTube people? Ben back again with another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking like a little bit, and I'm trying to make it not as insane as I have been. I've recorded this like 4 times now. But with that said, I think this is my first video in this location, which is my new home. It's a house now instead of an apartment. That's cool. But that's sad because I got here in May. Haven't filmed anything since May, at the very least. It's kind of crazy. But with that said, I'm bringing this video as an impromptu video talking about scoring in events and how to do it as efficiently as you can. Now, I'm not a pro player. I'm not like, a top elite player, right? But I'm no schmuck, okay? I'm not like a casual in their first event ever. I'm not some novice player who still needs to get a handle of the fundamentals and stuff like that, right? I've been playing since 5th edition. If you didn't know, I played in 5th, 6th, 7th, 10th, and now 11th, skipping 8 and 9. I played a couple games at the end of 9th, but I won't count that. So I skipped 8th and 9th, essentially. So I've been playing quite some time. Starting in 2011, I probably played my first event within that first year or so. And I've played events relatively consistently since then in the times I've played, or editions I've played. Granted, I did not play in GTs. I don't think I've ever played a 40k GT. AOS I have, 40k I have not. That's crazy. That mainly comes down to time inconvenience and money inconvenience. For example, the Lone Star Open next month in August. Time inconvenience because it's 2 weeks after school starts, and as a high school teacher, I'm going to have a lot on my plate 2 weeks in, and I don't really want to take a mental break to go to an event for essentially 2.5 days. It's a 3-day event, but like 2-day event really, kind of thing. So can't do it for time wise, and it's $165, man. I got money like that. I'm a teacher. Come on. But with that said, that's usually the reason I don't go to GTs as often as I would like, because they're cool. Nothing like surrounding yourself with a bunch of people who do the same thing that you love and playing some games. Like, what? That's why we go to play games. We like to play. With that said, though, I am above average playing wise, right? I have a higher IQ, like gameplay IQ, than I would say most people around me. I just don't implement it consistently. I get a lot better when I'm watching a game versus playing in the game, because like it's just a different perspective, in my opinion. But with that said, I played a 2v2 this last weekend with a buddy of mine. It was his first 2v2. I played a couple, none recent, but I played a couple before. It's fun. The way it worked was 2 players on each side, each one with 1,000 points, so it's a normal 2 game. The event companion for doubles isn't like fully fleshed out well, and so the TO was like trying to make sense of it all, and I did my best to help as much as I could. I was not a TO for this event. It was at a store I don't usually go to, but I did try to pitch in what I theorized and like thought GW meant when they left out certain things or like worded certain things weird. So it came down to a single command point every phase per normal per team. So turn 1 or battle round 1, after player 1 and 2 went, like all of us went, we should have 2 CP max, right? Just as a team, we got 1. That and detachment points were set at 2 detachment points per player. So on a 2,000 point team, my 1,000 had a 2 DP detachment. My teammates also had a 2 DP detachment. And we can say take a single 2-1 or 2 single DP detachments, which is not probably that smart of an idea, but you could if you wanted. With that said, confusing part was unified force versus force of convenience. Unified force being you have to be the same keyword, like Adeptus Astartes or Adeptus Custodes, or like keywords like that, and have the same detachment. If you don't have the same detachment, you cannot gain the benefit of the detachment with one another. So, for example, we did Custodes. We were going to do, because I just picked up a Custodia army for the 3rd time last week, so I wanted to play them. And then my buddy only has Custodes. So, he was going to play Lions of the Emperor. It's his preferred detachment. I was going to play Shield Host. It's my favorite Custodes detachment. And so we were not going to be Unified Force, because we have 2 different detachments. So I could be near his unit, and he can still gain the bonus of no friendly custodians unit within 6 inches, you get XYZ bonus, right? He can still get that because I don't apply to his friendliness because I'm not unified, right? So that was the bonus. Last minute he changed to a shield hold list to go like full face punch mode, and I was like, okay, I'm here for it. So we went up unified double shield host, which is like, that was cool. So we could target each other with stratagems and abilities and enhancements and whatnot. It was nice. With that said, he likes to hit and kill stuff, which that's fair and easy to do with Custodes. There's a lot of leeway with doing that. You can overextend, especially if you roll good 4-ups, which he does. Way better than me. My stuff like to die. But when it comes to scoring, you do not have to, this is what I told him, you do not have to kill your opponent to score, and you do not have to kill your opponent to stop them from scoring. Now hear me out. If you kill them, they cannot score. Yes. If you kill them, you probably helped yourself score something. True. Lastly, if you table them, they literally cannot score unless they have sticky somewhere and they score points based off objectives, and you can't stop that, right? And therefore, you can almost score everything. Almost. Not all the time. Make sure to score out your cards if you play out the game, right? Even if your opponent's table. Play out your cards, because if you can't score it, you can't earn it. You don't just auto score everything max, okay? But with that said, sometimes if you push hard for the sake of killing, and let's say you successfully kill, that doesn't necessarily mean that was more favorable for your own scoring than otherwise, and it doesn't mean that you can successfully stop their scoring. Maybe you just gave them a leg up for something to score. Maybe in order to get that kill that you wanted, or that you could get, it put you on an objective, and now they just got to kill you off that objective, they score points. Or that got you out of the center, and now they just get the center ground, I think is the new area denial. They go center, score points. You're not there. They don't even have to sweat. They don't have to decide how to get rid of you. You made their game easier. Just like in 10th edition, when for Overforce, you just don't start the game on an objective if you like have the ability to, with like infiltrate or scout or whatever, right? Or even turn 1. I mean, turn 1, you could probably do it, especially if it's your expansion, right? But center or enemy expansion, you don't really try to go on that because you're not going to hold it for your second turn to score, and you could just help them gain points for like Overforce and whatnot, or like no prisoners because you're kind of close to them, you know, stuff like that. So going out of your way to kill doesn't necessarily stop your opponent from scoring. Sometimes it can help them score. So you have to play strategic. Yes, you need to kill your opponent. Yes, you need to score and stop them from scoring, but sometimes they don't go hand in hand. Like the examples I just gave, right? Another example in our game, which we've talked about and we've agreed on since then, is in the moment, I said, hey, you should, because my army was on the other half of the board, like dealing with the Catan and like otherwise not participating for the most part. And his army was more so in the middle, split between 2 knights and a tech priest. And we had a grievous blow and we had assassination. But the big one is it was Purge versus Purge Meat Grinder. And it was you had killed more than your opponent did the previous turn. Our opponent killed one thing in the previous turn. And that was worth, I think that was worth 5 points. It could be 4, but I think it's worth 5 points. Either way, 4 or 5. I think it's 5. On our turn, I was like, hey, I think you should put your Blade Champ and your Warden squad that are attached together into the Tech Priest slash Castellan Knight, the big shooting knight. Which at this point, after the previous turn, we know for sure that that's the knight that's the scariest for our Custodes, because it just like wiped a squad of my custodian guard, and the other one didn't do as well. So I was like, we got to get rid of that Castellan. So I said, your shield captain and warden squad, I think that's best to go into the Castellan, and he agreed. In the Blade Champ and warden squad, because he had 2 wardens, both with a character, the Blade Champ, I was like, I think you should swing that into the Tech Priest and Castellan as well. That way when you go, shield captain and warden squad, that's a larger unit. The Blade Champ squad, I think, was down to like 3-4 models, something like that. So it wasn't a full squad of 6 total with including the character. I think you should put Shield Captain and the full squad into the Castellan in combat. So you're only in combat with 2 things with your 2 units, and you do that first because if you kill it, cool. Blade Champ and the few Wardens go into the Tech Priest, annihilate that thing, right? That gives us Assassination for sure because they're both characters. So we're gonna kill one of them, right? Or maybe you just absolutely whiff on the Castellan and he makes all the saves and you leave it on like 4 health, right? And then you don't get Assassination because we didn't kill that or the Tech Priest had he not gone to the Tech Priest, right? That would have sucked. And it would have gave us not Grievous Blow because we got to kill something big. And we can with the Knights. And so that hurts a lot. And it limits us needing to kill at least 2 things to get the Meat Grinder primary to kill more than our opponent did the previous turn. His decision, he was a little overwhelmed. He was in the moment. And so his decision was to take his Shield Captain and Wardens into the Castellan, and he sent his Blade Champ and the other Wardens into the Warden. I forget what the other knight was. Defender maybe? I don't know. No, it wasn't Defender. The one with like the change sword and then like the big gun. I forget which one that is. But he went into the other knight. So he had not a full unit with Blade Champ into a full health knight, or like basically full health knight, and then everything else into the Castellan. Which, like, cool. We can still kill 2 things. We can still kill a character, and we can still get Grievous Blow. So like we're doing fine. But in my head, and I run like simple like estimated stats in my head when I play games, like what do I need to hit, wound, and what is their save? What's the AP like? In the stats of number of attacks going into it, and how many am I going to drop on hits and wounds, how many they're going to save, how much damage they're going to take, feel no pains included, blah, 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 blah. I do that in my head while I play to make my decisions easier, right? I would say, on average, I'll do 22 wounds to this knight. Well, I'm not going to bank on a spike of 4 extra damage, right? That's a lot, right? Or for a Custodian, that's 2 extra go through. That's an above average amount. I'm not playing my game based on above average unless it's a need and not a, well, I could, but if I have another option that's safer and more so guaranteed, I'm going that way. And that's paid off dividends for me. With that said, I'm like, that Blade Champ and those couple Wardens, like 3-ish Wardens, are not going to take care of that full health knight. I just know it. They're going to hurt it, but they're not going to do that much. And the other knight, I think, Shield Captain in that unit should probably take care of the Castellan. Castellan was down to 22 or 24, so I had 2 or 4 wounds missing already. And then the Shield Captain was going to pop lethal and sustained this combat, his once per battle. And so I was like, I really think we should have just gone there. So we went, Castellan, dead. Boom. Got him. And the way the charges happened, that Shield Captain unit could not reach the Tech Priest that well. Or it would have made it so that not all the Wardens could touch the Knight just in case, if you decided to split or not. I don't know. It just wasn't like super feasible. And then the other unit with the Blade Champ into the Wardens brought it down to 11 health, which is like big, right? And the next turn, the Grav Tank could pop up, see the Knight, and then try to finish it off, right? 11 wounds, it could do that. And so I'm like, cool, but like, now we got Assassination and Grievous Blow, cool. But we did not get that kill more for killing 2 or more. And foreshadowing, or just giving it away rather, rest of the game, I think we got the Meat Grinder primary for like killing more than the previous turn 1 time. And our opponent got it 0 times. It was rough. We were killing 1 thing a turn, both, every game until 1 round we killed like 2 or 3 things at the very end. All this being said, we won the game. That was not like basically ever in question. The guys we played against, awesome guys, both relatively new. I think one said he started in February this year, and the other one started like a month ago. They were playing Necrons and Knights versus Double Custodies. So going into it, I'm like, we probably should win this one. Finding out their experience level, I was like, we really probably should win this one. But it wasn't like the easiest game ever, by all means. They were playing great. But in the end, we got, because the TO swapped the battle points and opponent game win percentage, because usually DW defaults to opponent game win percentage and then battle points for tiebreakers. It was like that the whole event, very end, before placing, but after the tournament ended, he went in and swapped them, and then he released the placings, the standings. So we went from what technically should be second based off opponent game win percentage to third based off battle points first. Feels bad for sure, but we still would have even had second had we gotten that single tech priest on that turn, because that would have gave us that +5 off that primary for Meat Grinder, putting us up a single battle point over the other team, which would have gave us second, because we were down by 4 going from second to third. So we learned from that. It was good experience. This video is for everyone, but including him. I'm assuming he's going to see this video at some point. And so I think we learned a lot. That's how my brain thinks, because sometimes you can manipulate scoring. And a lot of newer people, and I talked to one of the guys we played against in that game after the event. I talked to him. You can manipulate the game's points and scoring with your army like crazy, if you know how, and you like have good memory and like experience with the game. For example, if you know what the secondaries are, and you've known what they have or have completed, you know what's left and what can come, and you can like mitigate it to a degree, right? You can't account for every single card, because then you're like, it's just not really, you can't really do that, right? But you know the primary, you know theirs and yours, you know your secondaries and their secondaries, and then you can try to predict your future secondaries and their future secondaries to make them hard for them, easy for you. So if you still have yet to draw no prisoners, make sure that you aren't setting yourself up that final or that next turn when you draw, in case you do get no prisoners, that you're not going to have anything to target. And now you're not going to score it. Now you're going to hold on to it and hope to score it another turn. Hope you don't max out on another turn to make it even pointless. Or if they have a grievous blow target and you draw it, 9 times out of 10 we draw it and discard, because usually it's not an option, right? But if they do have an option, maybe ask at the beginning of the game, if you don't know, hey, do you have a target for grievous blow? Like, do you have something with starting strength 13 up? And find out, so that you can make sure that if you draw it, okay, I need to make sure that I'm positioned in such a way that if I really need to, I can get to that target and maybe try to kill it. Like, maybe. If it's feasible and it makes sense, right? Again, you don't want to overextend yourself for the sake of points and actually lose points on the back end. But like, don't overcompensate for this, right? All of these things are like, if you can, if it makes sense, right? To just don't ignore it, don't forget about it. That way, when you draw, you're not like, oh wow, what's this one? Grievous blow, what's that? And you're like, hey, do you got anything for that? And they're like, oh yeah, that over there. They're like, oh man, I'm not even close to that. Like, don't let that happen to you. That hurts. But the big one is the primaries now. Since you know each other's primaries and they're different, you can really, really accommodate for that. If you know that they need that center objective to score points, stick half your army on that and be like, okay, you're going to kill some of my stuff. Yeah, obviously, half my army is on the center. You're not getting the center, though. Which means that, is it 4 or 5 points for holding the center for that one primary, or disposition, rather, because they have, like, center on all of them or whatever. That's like, let's go with 5, right? That's 25 points across the game. Hypothetically, you sit there and you can stay there and they can't take it the entire game. That's 25 points you took for them. That means the best game they could possibly do to you is 75-0. Well, obviously, that's not going to happen, right? But the best game they can have is 75 at that point. If they score every other primary they can, and if they score, or I guess not, if they score every other primary they can and every secondary they can, max they can get 75. And generally, that's like an winning score, right? AKA, probably didn't win. So just know to manipulate that based on your placements, okay? I'll go more in depth if you want, because I know I rambled like so much. What are we at? 19 minutes? That's crazy. So yeah, if you want like a more coherent elaboration on what I'm saying and maybe like a visual demonstration, let me know. I'll do it, and I'll write like a script-esque thing to like help it flow better and like not rant like I have been. I'll do that, okay? But yeah, manipulate the scores based on your army, knowing their armies best you can, knowing the primaries, knowing the secondaries, and do your best, okay? Okay. If you want me to teach you how to mental math, easy, simple, estimated statistics in the heat of the moment, because you can't do everything super slow, I'll let you know how I do it in my head, like my thought process, and then maybe it can help you out in the end. Because I think it goes a long way with making, at the very least, better decisions or more thought out decisions on what you think is best or not. Because we all hate it when we get into a position, we do something that we thought was smart, and into the end, we're like totally undersold. We're like, oh wow, I thought I was going to wipe that unit, I killed half. It's like, okay, well, maybe if you did that mental math and like calculated that prior to in like 20 seconds, you would have known that you, like on average, you probably kill 70% of the unit. So you're like, yeah, you went under a little bit by only killing 50, but like on average you kill 70, which means you shouldn't bank on wiping that unit. It's probably not realistic. And had you done that, maybe you realize the charge or shooting target that way that looks less desirable because it's not like a better unit per se to target. On average, you do kill the unit. Well, there you go. You scored your points and you got rid of a unit. Now that unit can't do anything. If it's a worse unit, yes, it's not going to be as scary of a threat on the back end, right? But that kind of unit is the one scoring them their points. They're not the muscle trying to kill the unit or be the distraction. That's the unit doing the actions. That's the unit hiding in the corner trying to make sure they can hold on to that expansion objective or, whatever the case is. So there's just so many micro thought processes in the game that people don't really like think about, especially newer players. Which I suppose this is more so targeted to people who are like new-ish, right? Or at the very least newer to more the competitive play, where you actually have to think about these things because the goal is to win. Number one goal, if you don't know me, this is true. The number one goal is to have fun, because this is an expensive game, financially not rewarding game. So if you're not having fun, what's the point? Like, you're paying to not have fun. That's crazy. So number one rule, have fun. Number two, try to win, because usually that's fun. And as long as you're having fun first, trying to win doesn't feel as bad generally to either side, unless the dice spike and roll a bunch of ones every time on sustain or lethals or devs, or when my Hecaton tries to shoot the magnet coil cannon or magnet rail cannon, and I roll my dice and it's a 1 to hit, and the other one successfully hits, and then I roll the single dice to wound, and it doesn't wound because I rolled another 1. That feels bad. Now, if you don't like rolling ones, leave a comment down below and let me know any comments, questions, or concerns. If you want me to expand or talk about something else, leave it down below. If you don't, you're going to roll a 1 next time it matters the most. I'll catch you next time.